The Delta is raw. In its land and its humanity. From the land to the sky, the blue to the brown, when the rain comes, growing up there and you can smell the storms coming across the fields. The way the earth interacts with the sky it's incredible, but intense. And I think that intensity permeates everything. Nothing comes easy, and you're just gonna push through it. Everybody in the Delta has to be tough. It's just a tough place. And that kind of resiliency, it builds people. We're not gonna let the negative define us.
I tell you what, as I look around today, it's not what I see, but it's what I hear. And the sound that I hear now, those kids over there on that trampoline, joyful, playing, doesn't have a care in the world, just free. I remember that same sound in 1995, children running across the lawn, riding their bikes down the street, playing in the backyard. And one day I was sitting just right across the street where my mother's house is located. And this building has been here for a while, but it was vacant and somewhat dilapidated. And I thought about there are nearly 200 houses circling this building. What could I do for the kids? Motivating them to take their rightful place in this world and make a difference. And this is the very first meeting of kids in the Southgate community in Indianola. And that summer, I didn't quite know what I was doing. I didn't have enough staff. Each class may have had 60 kids in it. Bathroom was not working properly. Most of the lights weren't working properly. And we started out sitting on the floor. But that's the story everybody needs to hear. It's not what you have, it's what you do with what you have. 27 years later, we're still on the corner. If you're thinking about the progress of others, if you're thinking about inspiring and motivating others, you can take the little you have and make a whole lot. This is living proof. You're gonna start me to preaching.
Shaw High School closed around 2016. Okay, Doc, we're gonna go around this way.
Okay.
I attended this high school from 1970. I'm a 1974 graduate. I served as president of each of my classes from freshman class through senior year here at Shaw High School. Next, we're gonna take a look at the original band uniforms. A lot of memory in this building. All of this is original.
Look, man, look at those Hawks. Is that like the big drum major hat
It
right
is.
there?
It is. Hey, you guys,
That's the big one. That's the big one. So that's the, yeah, that's the tall step one.
This is our 1973 overall state championship team.
The
One and only. This was actually history because prior to us winning the overall state championship, nobody ever knew where Shaw was.
Yeah,
and in a sense, we put Shaw High School on the map. I'm number 25, so I was a member
right in
of
the
that
middle.
team.
Look at you, man.
You had an all-black team winning the overall state championship. We beat 5 and 6A schools. And it wasn't supposed to be possible. During the integration process, the black and white community here was not, we didn't jail. And it took a couple of years for us to get, to feel comfortable here because they looked at blacks as being lower-class people. And I guess it's because of their upbringing. There was not a lot of, or any association with black children, white children, black parents, white parents here in Shaw, Mississippi. Teachers were not accustomed to teaching black kids because they thought black kids were much slower learners. We were more so stigmatized. And I think it was because of a lack of understanding, a lack of knowledge, because we didn't associate prior to the integration.
This is downtown Shaw. This is the old drugstore. When I was a kid, we would ride our bikes over here and get milkshakes. And Miss Viola was the woman who worked here, and she would make our milkshakes for us and all that. And it's in pretty bad shape right now. That side of the road had as many buildings as this side, and they collapsed and they just pushed into the bayou. There were buildings all the way down facing the railroad tracks and wrapped all the way around. And in my lifetime, they're all gone. So it's been incredible to see the demise, really, of the economic center of this town. I mean, a lot of that's due to white flight. When 1984 was the first year Shaw voted and elected an African-American mayor, and a lot of white people left town then. Shaw Clinic now, it used to be Dr. Peeler's office. He was the doctor when I was a kid. We'd walk into Dr. Peeler's office, and Martha was his secretary, right? And so everybody loved Martha. And we'd walk in, and as a kid, we would go to this waiting room to the left, and we'd sit there. And then I would look across, you could see through the little back office area, another waiting room on the other side. And I'd see all the guys I went to high school with or school with. And we never knew why we had different waiting rooms. But literally after integration, they just took the sign down. And it used to be separated by race. And it still functioned that way when I was a kid. They integrated the schools, and what changed there was that white people who had means built their own schools and called it an academy. And so you have an academy system in Mississippi that's a direct result of integration. So what was left at the public school were African-American kids and white kids who couldn't afford to go to academies. From integration to condemnation, really, the school's condemned.
When most people think about Mississippi and they think about slavery and they think about the slave plantation economy and culture and system of power, they often, I think today, imagine the Mississippi Delta, a world built around these plantations in northwest Mississippi along the Mississippi River, when in fact that wasn't the case at all. It's not an antebellum story. It's a post-Civil War story. And really, it's a post-Reconstruction story. Prior to the Civil War, the Mississippi Delta was mostly swampland because of how low-lying the land was along the Mississippi River. So each spring, as the fall and the north and the snow and the spring rains come, the river floods, and it flooded the Mississippi Delta and historically created this swampland. And it is only after 1877, with federal dollars, the building of levees along the Mississippi River and the Mississippi Delta, that the Delta is contained and turned into what is some of the most pristine farmland in the world. And you can imagine, after millennia of the Mississippi River flooding that land, the alluvial nature of the soil and the richness of that soil, what made it some of the most valuable property anywhere in the world. After the Civil War in Mississippi, there's this short period of time in which African Americans immediately out of slavery began exploding all of the mythology in and around slavery itself. You have communities being built, African American businesses, you see schools, universities, Jackson State in 1877, you see Alcorn before that. You have a Black United States congressman named John R. Lynch, who was a former slave. You have a Black Speaker of the House, Jim Hill. You have two Black U.S. senators from Mississippi during this time, Hiram Revels and Blanche K. Bruce, who are the first Black U.S. senators in American history. Until Barack Obama is elected to the U.S. Senate, there had only been 4 total Black U.S. senators in American history, and 2 were from Mississippi during this period. There was tension, particularly between radical Republicans in Congress and the then president, Andrew Johnson, who was from Tennessee and had only been appointed vice president by Abraham Lincoln as kind of an olive branch to the South. But he was no friend of freed people. he is going to pardon 13,000 Confederate veterans. When Andrew Johnson, as President of the United States, pardons 13,000 Confederate veterans, he forces the Freedmen's Bureau to give them their land back, displacing thousands of African Americans. It initiates this moment in history. You have a displaced group of freed people who now need a place to live, a source of income, and you have an upper class of white landowners who need people to work the land. And it is in this moment that you see the genesis of sharecropping. And initially, these sharecropping contracts are generally entered into with mutual agreement between both sides. Free people were saying, we need a place to live, we'll work here, we'll grow the crop, and we'll share the profits with the landowner. The landowner would say, well, you're right, we grew the crop this year, the cotton came in, we made $500, your share's $250, my share's $250. But you know what? You owe me rent. You owe me rent for the house you're in. You owe me rent for the land you're on. Oh, and by the way, I loaned you the mule and the plow and the seeds that you put in the ground. And so you owe me rent for all of those things too. Oh yeah, and I own the store that you bought your clothes and the food you ate this year on credit at. So while your share's $250, you owe me $400. And you better not leave, because if you do, we'll arrest you, put you in convict lease, and force you to work the land against your will, which then enabled the rise of a system of power that is as close as possible to what we had before the Civil War.
Vast, colorful memories, history, hurtful. That's what I see when I think about Mississippi. But this amazing place that my ancestors came in on, and they planted themselves on solid ground and taught us, you be proud when you walk. That's Mississippi for me. A lot of pain here. We don't need to disguise it. We just need to tell the truth about it.
Everybody has a story. And their photo can show their whole story. I like trying different angles. I like the nifty filter because I get a wider view of the person. I love seeing people smile. And I know that when I show them that photo, they feel better about themselves. Because that's really them in real life. They just gotta see that way. Everybody has a story. They just need somebody to tell it. Hey, Mom. My mom taught me everything. She goes to work every day. She cooks at the adult daycare, so she's always trying to help somebody. She's a hardworking woman. She raised 3 kids, and I try my best to do as much as I can to help her. And that's how I was raised. Yeah, just give me a smile, and I'm gonna back up to kind of get like a lower shot. Photography has given me a responsibility. I want to put you in the middle right here. Yeah, just like that. Natural, yes. I really like taking portraits of people. What you can do is kind of like look directly that way. Just being in the moment. And just make it look as authentic as it can be. Got my Canon Rebel T5i. This is my little buddy right here. Got my nifty 50, my favorite lens right here. My dad, he wasn't like in my life. I ain't really known much about him. All I knew was his name. I fought a lot because I was always a hard-headed kid, just doing things just to get in trouble or something like that. God put me on the earth for something, and I'm trying to figure that out.
I'm a single parent raising my kids, and there was a lot of fear for me because, you don't find a lot of people from Shaw, Mississippi, make it out of Shaw. You have a lot of them in trouble, in jail. I was scared that he might get into the wrong crowd, follow the wrong peoples, just scared he might let his guard down and, something might happen.
I try my best to stay positive and start doing the right thing. Because I know it's going to be something that's going to come up because of my mistake and what I did. So I try my best to be as positive as I can. I learned to stay to myself a little bit. I know what's right, so I'm going to go with that. Now I know it's consequence behind everything, so my mom ain't got no bail money, so I don't have time to fight.
One of the biggest challenges for some young people today is, how can I keep hope alive in my own life? Yes, there are challenges to being born poor. There are challenges living in small town, rural Mississippi. And so how do I navigate through that? How do I somehow rise above that so that I don't become a victim, but a victor? And the circumstances into which you were born do not determine your destiny. Well, I was born in a small farming community called Kale. Single parent mother, 9 children. Grew up in dire poverty. We didn't exactly know we were poor because everybody around us faced similar situations. I grew up in a home where the mother was a breadwinner, the nurturer. The local paper did an article on her years ago. In her days, she was a fine seamstress. She was the kind of seamstress, she didn't have to measure you. I mean, she could look at you, and when you put it on, it would be tailor-made. And this has been my rock, my stay. All the things, values I've learned in life came from my mother. I believe this with all my heart. I believe when God created mothers, he painted a masterpiece. Brianna, they want everybody outside today. Come here, son. I didn't grow up with a father in the home. Young man, come on, everybody outside. Move it, let's roll. As a young child, I longed for the relationship any son would have with his father. You should have brought one. You used to bring one. Say, where's your ball? Guidance, protection. Where you going? Back here. There's too many in there. Wait till John get out and then he can come help you. But there was a void in my life, a hole, so to speak. I just think that they're just inherent blessings you receive from being in intact families. I grew up longing for that. You got your sheep. About 60 to 80 kids come here every week for Bible study, for mentoring, for tutoring, for recreation. I think the circumstances of my childhood helped to pave the way for the work that I'm doing today. It's because I know there is a child somewhere in Indianola who grew up just like I did. And I don't want that child to throw in the towel or give up on life. And for that reason, I'm here to love them, to nurture them, to guide them, to provide. Your grandma gonna pick you up? Okay. Whatever I can to try to make a difference.